Everyone, thank you for joining us again for another episode of the Pursuit of Purpose podcast. I'm Rob.
I'm Chuck.
And today we have with us a very special guest. He's connected to a very early episode of our show. I'm going to let him introduce himself.
My name is John Graham, and I'm in Houston. I have just a quick glimpse. I've been a physician. I've been an Episcopal priest, and for 12 years was president and CEO of the Institute for Spirituality and Health in Houston.
Wow, that is quite a resume,
Yes,
Dr.
it
Graham.
is.
And it's Dr. John Graham.
Oh, yeah.
He's very humble in his self-introduction, but this is a man of quite a few enormous accomplishments. And we are proud to have you with us today. And not the least of which of those accomplishments is you have a brand new book that you...
Yeah. Yes, I do, and I don't mind showing it. Can you get it? Belief, Mystery, Miracles, and Eternity. It may be backwards on your screen, though.
No, we can see it.
Yep.
Good.
It looks good.
Okay, good.
Very good. So where can people find that?
Amazon's the easy way, and if they go right now, they can get it for $2.99 if they like an ebook, which is a Kindle book, but they can also get a paperback, only it's more expensive, of course.
Okay. So is it available in the audio version?
Well, I'm working on that. If they go to my website, they can listen to an audio that's an overview of the entire book in 13 minutes. And I can't believe it, but it's beautiful. And then also I'm going to put an audio of each one of the chapters there. And somehow I think technology ultimately will let me put it all together. It's about 6 hours worth of audio. So I'm heading there.
Well, that's awesome.
Yes.
That is, I look forward to that. That is my preferred way to consume written material.
Right.
Well, go to my website. It's, www.johnkgraham.com. One word, johnkgraham.com, and you can find those audios. Two of them right now.
Very good.
Well, thank you for that.
Yeah.
Thank you very much. And thank you for all that you've done. I mean, just the brief introduction, my goodness, you have lived a life of service to your fellow man. That is truly amazing. So where were you born, Dr. Graham?
Well, I was born in Shreveport, Louisiana. And
God still loves you for that.
Yeah.
You got to Texas, as soon as you could make way.
Yeah, that is true. Actually, I never thought I would come to Houston. It just seemed too big. And I love Shreveport. It's a beautiful town.
Mm-hmm.
And, everybody, not everybody, but a lot of people. And it was a wonderful place to raise your children.
Yeah. Certainly.
And I never thought I'd come here, but the call of God on my life brought me ultimately here.
Right.
We can talk about that later if you want.
Of course.
Yeah. Shreveport has a beautiful, rich history there on the Red River. It's got named for Captain Shreve, and then eventually it became a military hub. That's a huge portion of the city, and great college. Centenary's there. I mean, it's a wonderful place.
Well, good. The whole time I lived in Shreveport, we thought nobody knew we existed. We were kind of glad about that.
Yes.
But it has, it's just, maybe 250, 300,000 people now, and it's very nice. With Bossier City, that's where that big air base you were talking about with the B-52s.
Yeah, Barksdale. There's an image I saw, and we'll get off Shreveport here in just a moment, but I think you'll appreciate it. It was from the late 30s, and the river froze over. And there's pictures of people out playing on the river. It's the only time that's happened in, I guess you could say, recordable history. But there's an image of people out there on the river. That I presume there's river underneath, but there's enough ice that was a playground for folks for about a day or so. That's how cold.
I've never heard that story.
Yeah,
that is really fascinating.
It's from Louisiana. So
let me, before we go on any further, though, I have to tell you, Shreveport is very important to me because the Centenary College because that's where I met my wife, and we've been married for 65 years.
Wow. Wonderful. What an institution this relationship is. How about that?
That is an amazing accomplishment.
Yes.
That's a lot to be proud of.
Well,
Especially, I mean, I don't know.
You know, of course, she's the one that puts up with me, though.
Well, that's what I was alluding to. I was going to say she is destined for sainthood.
Yeah.
Any woman that can put up with any particular man for that length of time,
Right,
has got to be special.
that's right.
Well, especially where I've drug her. You know, I mean, we had to leave Shreveport when she didn't want. Boy, she shed a lot of tears that day.
I'm sure.
But we now look back on it and see that it was God's purpose on our life. And that purpose is bigger than all of our little purposes that each of us may wish we could decide everything in our life about.
Right.
So what was childhood like for you in your childhood when you were growing up? What was discipline like in your home? And tell us a little bit about that. What did your parents do for a living? Just tell us about how you grew up.
Yeah. My mother was a stay-home mother and cooked meals for me and my two brothers. There were three of us. And at that time, I had a half-brother because my mother had lost her first husband in a hotel fire. And he was 12 years older than me. And while he was changing my diapers, he called me Buddy. He said, Buddy, you're such a disappointment. As he was changing my diaper, he thought I was going to come out and play baseball with him. I can do that later.
Right? Yes.
But at any rate, my dad was a realtor and was well known and had signs everywhere, you know, Frank Graham Realty. So I was proud of my dad. He was a strong, powerful man, you know, very successful, at least during my lifetime. He had recovered from alcoholism at 52 or 50, I guess it was 50. And my mother put up with him till I was 12. I was 12, as I recall, seeing him kneeling by the bed in the back bedroom all week long and putting ashes on his forehead. And I thought he'd gone crazy. I told my mama, Mother, what is happening to Daddy? She said, don't worry, it's good. And what happened is he quit drinking on the same day that he quit smoking 2 packs of Camel cigarettes, never smoked again, never drank again, only became a strong Christian, reading the Bible all the time and leading, you know, establishing leadership in a church setting. And my mother was just a saint. She was wonderful putting up with him all those years, but also raising us, and we were proud of our mom and dad. We had a good upbringing. That wasn't that me and my two brothers didn't wrestle and fight all day long. We never had a single game of Monopoly that didn't wind up in the air. Whoever landed on boardwalk, that was the end of it. But let me tell you this. Let me tell you this, what happened. Talking about purpose. My daddy one day put 3 folding chairs in the front yard, and he said, boys, sit on these chairs. And we did. We listened to our father. And he said, boys, we hadn't figured out what we're going to do with you yet. And I looked, you know, I was about 16 and, you know, they were 3 years younger than me. We looked at each other. I thought he was going to send us to reform school because I thought we deserved it. He said, we don't have a doctor in the family. Who wants to be a doctor? I raised my hand. He said, okay, John. He called me Buddy. They all call me Buddy in Shreveport. He said, Buddy, you'll be the doctor. He said, we don't have a dentist in the family. Who wants to be a dentist? My brother David raised his hand and said, okay, David, you're going to be a dentist. And then he said, we need somebody to carry on the real estate business. Who'll do that? Marshall raised his hand. He said, okay, Marshall, you're going to be the realtor. And that's exactly how it turned out.
Wow.
And I want you to think about it. What if, you know, the interesting thing, I think I was supposed to be a doctor. I loved it the whole time I was there. well, what if my daddy had said farmer or anything else? I probably would have done it. My father had that kind of authority, if you will.
Mm-hmm.
And every time I tell that story, men are just shaking their heads in men's groups and things. They never imagined their dad doing that. But we do have an important role, I think, as fathers to communicate. I think my dad was saying, boys, you can be anything you want to be. There's no limits. And I'm here to make sure that happens. Whoever, my one of my other brothers could have raised their hands to be a doctor. They didn't. I did. And I'm glad I did. In fact, that's because I went to Centenary College. There's a whole story there, but I went there because it was a great school to go to for pre-med, to go to med school. And when I was there, that's where I met my wife. And so all of that, what if I'd gone to LSU to do something else? I didn't. I went to Centenary College, met her, only place we could have met. I believe God knew it.
Absolutely.
Mm-hmm. Isn't that interesting how seemingly, even at your young age then, a lot of, and then now speaking to men throughout your own personal ministry, we don't speak prophetic words over our children like we used to. And that's very biblical. And there's more to it, as you said, and your dad was there to see that calling through. And I think we should do more of that. I think we should, speak more prophetically over, hey, God, there's a calling for you. It's there. And so maybe it was, put through him to give to you guys, his sons. And
I'm absolutely certain it was God speaking through him that day.
There you go. So since you had a really strong relationship with your dad, obviously, what was discipline like in your childhood home with you and your everything?
We got a whipping every day we came home because my mama couldn't. She tried to spank us with a switch, and it never worked. So as soon as we got home, she'd tell him something we'd done. We were rascals, I should tell you, and we deserved it. I felt I deserved every whipping I got. It did, I will remember the day, I think I was about 12, when my dad whipped me and I couldn't cry. I tried, but I couldn't. And that was the last time he whipped me. And he said, son, you're on your own on that, on doing the right thing. And I really began to take more responsibility for my own life because of that. But I don't know what to say. I know it was spare the rod and spoil the child back then. Today, we spoil the child and don't use the rod, probably. I don't know.
Well, that's
but I do think we need to set boundaries, and that's what he was doing.
Yeah.
I think we set boundaries for our children is wise, so that they know that there are boundaries out there when they get grown. If otherwise, they don't know about it.
Well, I want you to understand that I asked that question because we in our studies, in our interviews, and all the things and people we meet, we have found that those who grew up with that type of discipline are the most productive, are the most prosperous, are the most disciplined in themselves because they experienced that type of structure and boundaries growing up. Mm-hmm. And our hope is that one day that we as a society, as a people, are inspired to go back to a corporal style punishment, and discipline with our children, because it's what instills true self-discipline later on in life. And look at yourself.
I think so.
I mean, I may get thrashed for this on social media, who knows, but I am a big proponent of whooping your kids when they earn it. And
well, I think you got to do something and let them know that, their little desire to cut up and carry on, and, even in church and anywhere else, they need to know their boundaries. So
that's right. Yeah, and we're a sensational creation. We operate a lot by our sensations. And so if all we do is spoil our children and give them positive sensations, then they're missing a whole nother portion of their their abilities to cope with the negative. That's what punishment is.
I think it can. I think we both know you could be abusive. My dad was never. I never felt he was abusive.
Right.
I think the main thing is I knew his love. My dad was a Gideon. He carried Bibles around. That's one of the other things he did to hotels and everything, and to prisons. And I rode with him in the car to give to conventions and various things. And he put his hand on my knee. You know, I knew he loved me. I also knew, you know, when I got a whipping that I deserved it. And we were pretty rascals. So, but it didn't harm us. Let me put it that way. Now, I realize if you just hit them and you hit them rough, you know, beat them up, and you didn't demonstrate love, that's not it.
No.
That wouldn't work. That would be the opposite of what you need.
That's right. That's right. So it's amazing you've described it. You know, you and your brothers all from that lawn chair experience, you guys all became what you were challenged to become. And that's beautiful. I am going to ask you this, though. When you were a kid, did you have any dreams of becoming any particular thing that was not a doctor?
I think I could have even become a priest if he'd have said, boys, we don't have a priest in the family. I mean, a minister. We were Protestants, so they never taught priest talk. In fact, when I was baptized at age 12, I remember feeling real holy for about 2 weeks till I did something. But I felt so holy that I set up at my bedside table, you know, a cross and a picture of Jesus. And my mother came in and saw it. And she said, "What are you doing?" I said, "I'm just setting this up, you know, so because I love Jesus." And she said, "We're not Catholics." So she made me put up my little bedside stuff, and I had a Bible there too. But I will say that I was, and I rededicated my life probably 1,000 times and felt I needed it. And I will say, if he had said we need a free minister in the family, I would have raised my hand for that too. Now, isn't it interesting? Ultimately, I felt God's call to become a minister. And, you know, that happened too. So,
well,
down the road.
I mean, you're following the great physician and you became a doctor. It's fitting that you know, go into ministry as well. So, I mean, they're directly connected. Everybody says, you know, well, Jesus was a carpenter. Well, that may have been his trade of his hands, but he was a physician.
Yeah.
He treated mankind. He helped heal all of mankind. So here you are following in the master's footsteps. So,
well, thank you. That's the way I felt. And I always wanted that. That's why I was rededicating my life a million times. Always knew that, you know, sin within my life, I hoped it would go away, but it never has. I mean, you know, we're human, and we're broken a bit. And if it wasn't for the grace of God, no telling where we'd be. And that's, I think, why my dad searched. I mean, why he was an alcoholic. He was trying to find an answer somewhere to calm down that feeling on the inside. And he found Christ, and that was all he needed.
That's beautiful.
That is.
Yeah.
So in your life, other than your father, did you have a mentor? Was there anyone who mentored you as a young man outside of the home that you looked up to?
Well, we had a Bible teacher that came in our church he was a medical doctor named John Hall.
Okay.
And eventually he went on the mission field down the isthmus way down in Mexico. And we visited him many times down there. But John Hall and his wife were beautiful examples for us. And my little Sunday school class, all of us admired him. And the fact he was a medical doctor and also a believing doctor probably had a more formative than I realized, because when I became a medical doctor, I wanted, to integrate my spiritual belief, my love, that God had put love in my heart for people. And I wanted that to happen just like the John Hall. So I would say he was my principal mentor. And he loved the Bible, and taught it beautifully.
Well, I asked that question because we like to point out that one of the most valuable and impactful roles that any person can play is as a mentor in someone else's life. And a lot of times that mentor-mentee relationship happens organically and the people don't even realize they're in it at the moment. And we encourage people to be very purposeful and intentional about that role that they play in other people's lives, because there's such a huge impact that it has.
Sure.
And I will say this, that I have firsthand knowledge that you yourself has served as a mentor in other people's lives. So very good at carrying on the legacy.
Thank you.
I'm sure you've done it with far more than just the example we know about. But for those of you in the audience hearing me allude to this, Dr. Graham was a huge impact. And the reason he made it onto our show as a guest is that I reached out to him and requested that he come on because of his relationship with Dr. Chad Hammett and how he helped transform his life. And if you would you mind describing that relationship, how it was formed, and then, a little bit about it from your perspective?
Well, as a plastic surgeon in Shreveport, we treated trauma. And, most people think of plastic surgeons for cosmetic because that's all we really see in the newspaper or anywhere. But really, plastic surgery started after the First World War. It is really the first specialty. And it started in Kennisburg, Scotland, by a doctor that began treating all those mutilated First World War soldiers who were returning home.
Wow!
And a book is on my shelf over there that is called "The Art of Plastic and Reconstructive Surgery," and you saw what all he did with just creating the whole field. But that's really the essence of plastic surgery. And I always call myself, when I have the opportunity, a plastic and reconstructive surgeon, because that is really the essence. And when Chad, a little 4-year-old boy, came to our emergency room, Schumpert Medical Center in Shreveport, he had a shotgun blast that blew off the left-hand side of his face. And when I saw him, his tongue, I hope you don't mind me saying it.
No, you can describe it.
People viewing, his tongue was hanging out.
Right.
And this part was just open. I've never seen anything so dramatic. I called an oral surgeon friend of mine who helped, and we together were able to free up enough tissue to bring this together and put a skin graft on the inside. And he was able to wire the mandible, the bones back into place. We covered them the best we could. He's had other surgeries and we had to do it over time. But I love that kid. He walked in my office and had his thumbs in his pocket, 4-year-old, for the follow-up visit, and said, "Where's Dr. Grimm?" He called me Dr. Grimm. We love that kid. And his mother, and it was just great being a part of that story in their life, and to continue with him over many years, because he had to have other procedures.
Well, he attributes his experience with you as a huge guiding impact for him and his journey and transformation into the doctor and into the community influence that he is. Well,
if I remember right, when we came out of rolled him out of the emergency room on a stretcher and heading to the operating room, his mother grabbed me by the hands and almost screamed, "Dear God, be with this man as he operates on my son." And it was an electric experience for me, and accepting the responsibility for a little boy's face. And the blast also caused him to lose vision in one eye, as I recall. But other than that, he and I connected, that's for sure. And I prayed with him as when I would come to the room and that kind of thing. We would give thanks for his progress after that.
Yeah. Well, that 4-year-old boy has taken that experience and parlayed it into a positive impact for thousands.
Yes.
Thousands of people. And that's an investment that you made through the grace of God and through your chosen profession and path. That's just how big and impactful what seems to be the small things. I mean, all you did was show up for work that day.
Well, yeah, it was that and one other case where I had to replant an amputated arm of a little 4-year-old boy. Interesting, both of them 4 years old.
Wow.
Those two cases were kind of the essence of being a reconstructive surgeon. And both of them were, really powerful experiences in my life. And
So
Chad then invited me, when he went to med school, invited me to speak. And I was able to go down to Galveston, where he was in medical school, and speak to a wall of young doctors and share my story and my faith. And he was encouraging to me to do that. I then made a number of trips back to Galveston and spoke to medical students. Because of that one trip, it introduced me to some of the faculty and staff people that were also wanted to hear that side of medicine. Mm-hmm. The integration, my book is about the integration of spiritual. You can't read it, I guess.
Oh, yeah, we can read it just fine.
Yes, sir.
Okay, science and spirituality. And for all these years, there's not been a real close connection ever since Rene Descartes made a separation between the physical universe and the spiritual. And it sounded good to him, but what happened is, the scientists said, we don't have anything to do with the spiritual anymore. Well, that is really tragic, because the human condition is the whole person, is body, soul, and spirit. And many of the hospitals say they treat the whole person, body, soul, and spirit. And at best, they have a chaplain show up, but it's not integrated the way medicine, the doctor should be integrating his spirituality in such a way that he can bless his patients. So that's what this book is part of what it's about.
That's beautiful.
Is integrating science and spirituality. I call that all of reality. If you understand me, the physicists study matter and the material universe, but they don't pay any attention to the spiritual dimension. And I believe you and I know, and most people know, the spiritual dimension is really the powerful one, the most important. This physical universe is God's creation, and we love it. I mean, it's God's creation, and we're a part of it. But the other part is that spiritual connection with the living God. And we need both. And when we have both, I call that all of reality, both the physical and the spiritual.
You're in Houston, Texas, which is obviously the the home for so many different ailments. Not probably the two most popular would be DeBakey and all of his work in cardiac, and then obviously cancer. And both of those both of those disciplines and the institutions that support them all bring in the spiritual component. I've had several friends through the years who've gone through both of those, with Rob and his family at Texas Children's and others. And there is a host of that holistic type approach, which is just beautiful.
Look at here at this picture.
Yes,
that's
sir.
DeBakey, Dr. DeBakey. And if you could see it, way in the background is at Houston Methodist, Jesus touching a woman who's come to him. Do you see that?
That's
awesome.
All right. Awesome. What I say is, this is the way medicine ought to be.
There it is.
Jesus is there. It's happening. They kind of got him in the background, but you and I know, that's only the beginning of things.
Right.
God's at work in the life of every single person struggling with physical illness, and when they lose a loved one, what a challenge that is.
I wish I could speak more specifically to the host of different miracles. I mean, I've read scripture enough to know a lot, but it seems to me that most of them were physical healings, blindness, other ailments on the inside, outside, leprosy and various things. There were probably some other miracles, but most of them were physical. So
the blind man, even blindness.
No, his Jesus's miraculous healings were physical manifestations.
And what was amazing was when Jesus performed a miracle and healed someone, he would always say something to the effect of, "Your sins are forgiven."
Yes.
And it wasn't, he would speak to the sin and heal the body.
Right.
Yeah.
So there, I don't know. Just as you were just showing that picture of from the lobby there at Methodist, just kind of they just came to me like most of his miracles were physician type healings.
Yes,
which I think is just speaks to the love that we are afforded through Christ that we wish more people would appreciate.
So. I'm going to follow back up because I don't want to forget it. I don't want to miss it. You mentioned, Chad, of course, was one of your big impactful experiences, but you mentioned the other 4-year-old little boy who you reattached his arm. So how did his story turn out? You don't have to mention names or anything like that if you don't want to, but how did that end? What did he become?
Well, he became an FBI agent for 10 years.
Wow.
And then he could pass the physical and put handcuffs, wrestle him to the floor and put handcuffs on, I guess. But at any rate, he is just over the Red River. No, whatever that river is. What is the river next between you and Louisiana? He's right over the. All right. Mm-hmm. He dropped out of the FBI and then he opened a bait shop, and he was selling baits, and now he's got 3 businesses. He loves God. He is a man of God. You need to get him. His name, he would be another good one to follow him and his name, okay, wait a minute. I remember Chad Hammond. Okay. It'll come. At any rate, I'll come to you in just a second.
That's fine. When it comes, that's fine. But we would love to have him on.
Yeah, I'll get you his contact information as well. And the whole deal was on the back of a Farmall tractor. His daddy had been remodeling it, an old one. And the little boy was 4 years old. He knew that tractor backward and forwards because he'd watched his daddy do it. His daddy was at the front and cranked it up to show a friend. And the little boy went up and pulled the power takeoff lever that started that little shaft turning.
Yes.
And there was a canvas tarpaulin over the seat, started wrapping on that shaft, and his arm went in and amputated him above the elbow. And his daddy came and grabbed him up and ran to his pickup. The little boy said, "Don't forget my arm, Daddy." He went back and got the arm, brought it in, went to Shreveport. I had just arrived, trained as a reconstructive surgeon, but also trained with microsurgery. And believe it or not, I was able to use microsurgery for the first time in the world to replant an amputated limb. And we got on television and stuff like that, me and my little boy. And his name is going to come to me. I just got Chad so much on top of me. But it was a delight to be a part of his story as well. Absolutely. And those two little boys both have grown up and prospered and know God. It's really wonderful.
Wow. That is an amazing story. Wow. And I can't wait to meet him. Right. That's going to be phenomenal. So I'm going to ask you a big loaded question that we ask every guest. Are you successful?
By God's grace and with his calling, yes. And I feel fulfilled. And I feel like when God got a hold of my life at age 35, after I got empty on the inside, and the Lord filled me with his Holy Spirit, and I haven't been the same since. That was when I was 35, and I'm 85, after 85. So it's been 50 years.
Right. It's fascinating you talk about that. We had, Chuck and I had a discussion not that long ago about how people talk about rock bottom. Mm-hmm. And you witnessed your dad reach his rock bottom, and then you also reached yours. And it's fascinating. You have to hit rock bottom, otherwise there's no foundation. That's right. You fill up the space with the sand and sediment of life, and if you build on that, it's not stable. So God needs you to find that rock bottom so he can help you build on it.
Dr. Graham, I heard a sermon one time, and we're talking about rock bottom. I probably should have mentioned this when we did our live cast. And he was referencing the Apostle Peter, and he said, that's his name, Petra, which is rock. And he goes, which meant Jesus was speaking a prophetic word. He goes, you're going to hit rock bottom, but then you're going to be the leader of my church. And I thought, oh my goodness, I never put all of those connections together. I mean, the minister was having fun with words, of course, but it kind of makes sense if you think about it, because he was at a rock bottom. He was ready to go back to fishing for a living.
It's as long as you think you can do it without God, you ought to be grateful if you hit the rock bottom, whether it's with alcohol or whatever it is. It puts you on your knees, and by the way, Robert is the boy's first name. Robert. Okay. All right, I'm gonna get it yet. All right, never mind.
Remember that.
Listen, we got so many stories to talk about. I don't know how long y'all got, but I got, whatever. This has been fun. I thought you were going to take a break. I thought you guys took a break every now and then.
Oh, we don't need breaks. No. We operate under the Iron Man philosophy.
There you go. We break when it's over.
So
I got the name of the boy. His name was Robert Hyatt, Hyatt. Okay, I'll get you his contact information. Hyatt.
Very good. After the show, we'll definitely get that set up so we can arrange an interview with him. I think that would be fascinating. So
it's wonderful.
Since we've established, and we agree with you, by the way, that you are a success, and I want you to understand that by acknowledging that, it's not a sign of arrogance. You are one of the most humble people that we've ever talked with, and very respectable and respectful. But what separates a successful person from a failure?
That's a question.
Yeah, absolutely. I want to hear your answer.
For me, it was, finding God in my life and realizing God's love. I think part of it was, it gave me confidence in who I was. If the creator of the universe cared about me, I know he cares about every single person on this planet if they just knew it. And I wish they did. Because if you know that God loves you, you know he has a plan for your life. You know, in fact, you're in the middle of that plan. That's why you came to him. And you know he came to you because you were messing around doing everything else. Now God has got your life and he's guiding you, giving you wisdom. And then you find, you find scripture to indicate that God has been speaking to people ever since Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. I mean, my goodness. And so then you realize, God is at work everywhere where he's recognized and allowed, given. I mean, it's so ridiculous that we don't think we need God, but we do. And when we do, it changes us. Everything about us and everything about it gives meaning and purpose to our life for the first time.
Absolutely. Well, that's great.
Yes.
That's definitely a great description of what separates a success from a failure. Mm-hmm. And, you asked about taking a break. God doesn't take a break, no matter what. He is constantly working. He is the biggest workaholic that exists. Even when he took a rest after creation, mm-hmm. he was still creating.
Yes. Yes. So, as someone once said, when they look into they take these humongous telescopes and look into the vastness of space, and they see these nebula clouds, and they go, "Well, God never told the light to stop. It just keeps going." I thought, I don't know if that's the case, but I love the concept. You know, he never quit work. Once the word got spoke into this auditory command, it never stops. It never stops.
Beautiful.
Well, Dr. Graham, you mentioned that you are 85 years old, and through this interview, we've learned that you have been a doctor, you've been a husband, you've been an author. What we haven't asked you about is, are you a dad?
Absolutely. We have 5 children.
Okay.
And the oldest and the youngest are boys, men, grown, of course, and 3 beautiful daughters in between.
Okay. So,
and we have 19 grandchildren.
Oh my goodness! Wow. Congratulations!
So that keeps my wife busy with birthdays and anniversaries, and she's holding that big family. There are about 30 of us, over 30 of us when we all gather.
Wow! That's beautiful. Yeah. What an amazing impact on the world!
I'm telling you, that's an institution.
Yes,
that's impressive.
That is amazing. Yeah. So I'm going to ask you a crazy question. Did you take your 5 and sit them in lawn chairs and do the same thing? Did you ask them, okay, so we've got a doctor now. I did that. We need a lawyer. We need did you do that?
Well, we didn't. I didn't set the folding chairs out there. We all along helped them recognize where their giftedness was. And, the truth is we're all multi-gifted. We could do several different things. And when we found them to be excited, for instance, my oldest son was very gifted in mathematics. And he went to Baylor and unfortunately joined a fraternity there. At any rate, I got to tell you this story. One day he calls me up and he says, I asked him, I said, how's school going? He said, I hate I'm never going to take another 8 o'clock class in my life. I said, excuse me, Pat, Kurt, did I hear you say you weren't going to take an 8 o'clock? He said, yes, sir, I'm never going to do it. I said, get your bags packed. I'm coming and get you. I brought him back to Shreveport. And what I did, I had scaffolding for a building, a 2.5-story building. And I told him, you're going to get on that scaffolding. You're going to get up at 5 o'clock with me and read the Bible and pray. Your mother's going to have a hot breakfast for you. And precisely at 8 o'clock, you're going to be on that scaffolding all the way around that building, painting all of that gutter and everything, those windows they needed, bad. He fussed every single inch around that building. But let me tell you what.
That was a good
When
class.
he finished, what he did was bring his friends by and show them what he had done. He was proud of it. And when I tell this story to men in men's meetings, they too shake their heads. They cannot imagine doing that. But I don't even know how I did it. But I knew that boy had to learn that the world starts at 8 o'clock in the morning.
At least. Yeah, no, that's great.
At least. And he learned it. He's never fussed about it since. And he is a loyal, diligent man. What he did, he went to Centenary. He went from Baylor. We put him in Centenary. Okay. And they had a math program there. And what he learned there was computer science. And he took off with computer science. And now he works with a great big oil company in Houston, handling what they call routers. I don't even know what they are. All over the world, they have to make them coordinate somehow to communicate. So at any rate, that's what he's doing. And that's his story.
That's the best 8 o'clock class he could have ever taken right there.
Yes.
Yeah, it is. And I don't know how I had the gumption to do it, but I do things like that and getting myself in trouble a lot. But
well, I would say that's a lawn chair moment. That was your dad's lawn chair moment right there. And the way it came to you, and look at you. You saved his career, and now he works around the world.
Yeah.
You have really had a storied life, and we could probably extend this interview all day and never have a dull moment. I am curious, you've recapped all these experiences, 5 kids, an author, a doctor, a man of the cloth, all these things that you've done, and you're 85 years old. And by looking at you and listening to you, I would estimate that you're nowhere near finished.
Oh, no. That's one reason I wrote this book, just wrote it. And it's just been published. And I had retired for in the church, they made you leave when you're 72. They call it mandatory retirement. Well, I wasn't anywhere near quitting then. And fortunately, I had been on a board of the Institute for Spirituality and Health. And as it turned out, the man that was the president died. The chairman of the board looked at me and said, "John, we need to talk to you." And he said, when he talked to him, he said, "We'd like you to be the president, CEO of the Institute." And all of a sudden, I had never really thought I would have that opportunity. And here I was, a medical doctor and a priest. The physical and the spiritual came together. And I gave thanks to God. I said, "Lord, you are so much wiser than me. I never would have thought coming to Houston could be a rewarding like this. Right. I didn't even know it existed. Here was an institute that exactly fit what God had trained me to be, both a physician and then a priest. And so for 10 years until COVID hit and round, it was wonderful. My men, then we all the staff went their homes and we're working from homes. And it was like pulling hen's teeth to get them to come back after that. And finally I said, maybe the Lord is just saying, I've done my duty with that and wonder what else God's got, because I know God is a creative God and he has not finished with me. And what's happening, the book opens doors. So I'm glad I'm here. This is an open door. By the way, whoever is watching this, you may have a church or a group or something you need me to come speak. I'm going to get in my car and we're going to share the Lord, and we're going to share the story of pursuing purpose and meaning in your life by letting God be the one who's in charge.
I love that.
I do too.
And,
thank you.
Yes, thank you for your life of service. And the amazing thing is, we get people who come through our lives and through our practice, and we meet at public events and things, and they'll ask the question, or they'll make the statement, I don't really know what my purpose is, or how do I find my purpose? And what's fascinating is you're a living example of this. It's not really about the purpose itself. It's about the pursuit. It's
Very
about,
good.
It's about
I
the
love
journey.
that.
It's about the journey towards purpose.
Right.
And I believe that's the challenge of life that God puts before us, is that we are to pursue the purpose that we were created for. And that the purpose is seasonal,
right? But
the pursuit is never ending.
Right.
And you are living that. And we appreciate that.
One of the things I heard about your, and I know you're hitting highlights of your life. I'm sure there's many details. Like you said, this could go on for a long time. And, but it's that you seem to be at every stage, starting at 12, when you gave your life to Christ, and I'm sure even before that, your purpose seemed to be just serving other people. You were good to your family, good to your brothers, and then that led into probably school, and one thing after that. But wherever you landed, you seemed to search out a way to serve in some way. Is that a fair statement?
Yeah, that's a beautiful statement. And even though I was president and CEO of the Institute for Spirituality and Health, and that is an administrative job, and I've always been serving people. So, I was looking, and in the church, you serve people there, in many times in great needs, but led all kinds of groups that prospered and grew in our church. So that was great. But what I want to tell you is, at the Institute, it came to my attention there were a lot of people who had lost a loved one. And for the last 13 years, I have facilitated an online every week a group, a bereavement support group. And most of the bereavement support groups last for 6 to 8 weeks. But I want to tell you, grief is not on that timetable. Grief can be for a lifetime, especially you've really been connected with somebody. And I don't know how long y'all got, but I will just tell you, I have loved being a part of helping people walk from that moment of being devastated at the loss of their loved one and seeing them unfold in the months and years ahead, and then for them to be able to minister to those that are coming in that are new in their grief.
There you go. Well, loss is a perfect opportunity for recreation. That's what recreation has to come from loss. And as you were just implying, our measure of grief and our measure of love are the same. We don't grieve what we don't love. And so I love it. I appreciate that you're doing that. And the reason I was referencing your life of service is because if there's someone listening today, if you can hear Dr. Graham's message, if we were to ask the question, well, what is your pursuit? And their answer to us is often, well, I don't know. Where do I find it? I go, start serving. It doesn't matter. If you will open up the gate to serve, God will fill in the rest. Just go volunteer at a local charity or a church or something. There's got to be something right around the corner. And it just seems so simple, but once they start, then they can't stop. And we've seen it several times with people who come to us kind of in a state of loss. They're just in a little bit of a spinning vortex. But if we can pierce that momentum and find one place they can land to serve, and like you're saying, once a week, I know we can do more, but there's a start right there. And it's amazing what happens next. Yes. Very quickly, actually. I don't think it takes long. And they're off and running.
Yeah.
So, Doc, what is next for you?
Well, I always begin. Well, let me tell you, for 15 years as a plastic surgeon, I felt like God had something more related for me. And for 15 years, the first moment I woke up, I said, it came out of my mouth, Lord, is this the day you're calling me full-time into your work? And eventually, through a whole series of things and another big story you don't have time for, I don't think, I left medicine to go and become a priest. Now, at the time I left, I didn't know exactly what God was going to do with me. What I thought was probably I would be a medical missionary, because I've heard of them, where you go in foreign land and you're a surgeon, you use your surgery there. Mm-hmm. But I went to Fuller Seminary in Pasadena, California, which had trained a lot of missionaries over the years. And out of that, I came to really come, at any rate, I wound up going into the Episcopal Church and became a priest here. And it has been very rewarding. People of every walk of life need God. And I have men that tell me, because I was there, and they're in influential positions. I was at the largest Episcopal church in the United States, St. Martin's Episcopal Church in Houston. And we had a men's group of 350 to 400 men, and all of them in very important positions. And today, when I go over there, they tell me, and they'll remind me of something that I said that meant a lot to them. And I will say that what I'm doing right now, your question, is first of all, I'm at peace. I'm in whatever God does today is what I'm really rejoicing in. And I just left, and I'm just returned from flying at my own cost. I flew to Pennsylvania because there was a man in my bereavement group. It's an online group, man that had lost his wife, and he was grieving and really in trouble. So I got on my plane. We went up there. I went to Pittsburgh and then drove into the hill country and stayed with him 3 days and talked to him about the Lord and tried to help him get his mind fixed on God and God's plan for his life. And I want to tell you, if that trip, see, God opens doors. I can't tell you exactly what door's going to open. And he was amazed that I'd come. He always thought I wouldn't come. He said, I thought you would tell me you couldn't after all. But once I had in mind that God wanted me to go there, I wasn't going to back down. And it, probably cost me $1,000 a whole trip. So what? God provides. But what I'm trying to tell you is God opens doors. And I don't have to sit here and worry anymore. I know that the right doors are going to open. And in fact, pursuing the purpose of God in this meeting, I believe this meeting will help open some doors. So I'm right here, right now with you guys. And I'll be with anyone who needs me.
I love that.
I do too.
That is beautiful. Thank you for your heart. Thank you for your commitment to yourself first, and then to the service of God. It's beautiful. It really is.
Indeed.
And I believe that the stories that you've shared and the journey that you've shared is going to be of great inspiration to our audience. If nothing else, it is to me, and I know it is to Chuck as well.
By far.
So we are drawing to a close. We're getting towards the end of our interview, but before we've got a few questions that we ask in tradition. But is there anything particularly that wasn't asked that you'd like to share?
Yeah, that's always a great question. I will. How can I do it in just a few minutes?
You can, whatever you need. Yeah, go ahead.
Oh, okay. All right. I want to share why I left medicine.
Yeah,
to become a priest. Remember, for 15 years, I prayed, Lord, is this the day you're calling me full time into your work? What had happened, my wife and I had the opportunity to purchase a small hospital. It was a psychiatric hospital with 10 beds, and we turned it into a plastic surgery center, and people were coming from all over, that kind of thing. We remodeled it over a long period of time. We remodeled every room, 49 rooms and 13, or I've forgotten how many bathrooms. At any rate, it was it took us 10 years to get it totally remodeled.
Okay.
Because we were paying as we went.
Right.
And now we had a beautiful building that really anybody would just, it was just gorgeous. It was an estate prior to us, before it was the psychiatric hospital. Okay. What happened is one day they called me and said, Dr. M, somebody's at the front up there. They want to talk to you. And I went up, and this man said, he's just looking around my building. And he said, Dr. M, the first words out of his mouth, this would be a perfect building for a drug and alcohol rehabilitation center. And I said, yes, sir, it probably would, but this is I practice medicine out of this. I thanked him, went back. Believe it or not, 30 days, 1 month went by, and another man came. Said exactly the same thing. It's a perfect place. I said, I'm sorry, there must be something in the federal government's paying for this, but I've already told one man no, and sorry, thank you. Thank you for coming, though. And I went back to my office. The third person a month later came, and I told him the same thing, said goodbye. I'm sorry, this is where God has called me. See, I thought that's where God had called me. And what happened as I walked back to my office, I heard this word. I heard inwardly, it is interesting, you do not want your building used for drug and alcohol when alcohol has beset your family for 4 generations.
Wow.
I knew 3 at the time, but I didn't know the 4th, which I now know. And what I will tell you is I fell on my knees and I said, God, forgive me, because we had dedicated that building 10 years previously to the Lord. And we told him, God, bring whoever you want us to serve in this building, bring them here. And God did. And now I heard God telling me it may be for something different, maybe to rehabilitate people that are alcoholics and on drugs.
Wow.
Well, that's what happened. And I felt like this was, after praying 15 years, I felt like, and there was a whole series of circumstances that led me to think of going to Fuller Seminary. And we went, my wife and I left and went to Fuller Seminary on faith, trusting. And I will tell you, the building was leased to a drug and alcohol rehab unit for 3 years. The entire time I was in seminary, and it paid for that, for the tuition and all the expense. So God provided. And then we were at that time ordained into the Episcopal Church.
So God was saying, boy, if you just listen to me, I'm trying to help you. That's amazing. And what a beautiful outcome. So I'm going to ask a follow-up to that story. What's the building doing right now?
Well, I don't own it anymore. And what happened, they ultimately tore it down and put a new bank in its place. Okay. They sold it. The people did that took it over.
Okay. So how long did it serve as a rehab facility?
3 years. And what happened, the federal government changed the way they reimburse, they stopped it, and they don't really, a lot of medical centers that treated mental illness and including alcohol and all that no longer could afford and started closing down. Even in Texas, the big mental hospital closed.
Right.
It's pretty sad. I mean, we've got such prevalent mental illness running around in our society with the lack of ability to treat it because there's just no funding available.
Right.
It's a sad state of affairs in that regard.
We have obviously the greatest country on the planet, maybe in the history of the world, and we do so many things so well. But that is one particular industry, and we're kind of in mental health in various ways that we don't do well. There's other models around the world. I wish we could make a pivot and handle that better. The more they do. Now, there's things that we do they should probably do better. But if we could ever get those blended, but we tend to want to put money in other things that don't really seem to be as advantageous. But obviously helping people, because it's it's a hook, it's a trap, as you know. It was in your own family, and but and I thank God, and that's a prayer, not a swear. I thank God for your dad's courage, to confront it head on, and knowing there is no other option. This must happen, and sometimes people don't know that yet. But I love how your work for all those many years as in plastic surgery basically paid for that remodel that they were able to enjoy for a short period of time, and everybody got the winner there for a bit until the government format changed. So, but that's an interesting. Even that piece of property became an interesting journey.
Well, I tell that story in the book.
Mm-hmm.
And it's a powerful story. Let me tell you, I preached it one time recently, and I cannot tell you how it touched people. When they came up for communion, they were weeping and telling me, I've got somebody in my family. I've got somebody in my family. I know what you're talking about. And thank you for sharing it. We sometimes keep mental illness or addictions and act like they're not happening in our family. We don't talk about them. We're afraid to.
Right.
And God, once we get it out in the open, we realize it's everywhere. The problems are in every family, distant if not immediate.
Right. And oftentimes when people come in for counseling, they say they're anxious, or they say they're depressed. And I said, well, actually, you're always a little anxious and you're always a little depressed. It's just gotten beyond your ability to contain and manage. The same with addiction. I said, everybody has the potential to be addicted to something, whether it's sugar or something. It's in everybody. It's just the discipline to confront it. That's what most people struggle with, it seems.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, Dr. Graham, it has been an honor and privilege to have you as a guest on our show. There are a couple of questions that traditionally we ask at the close. Chuck, is there anything that you'd like to ask?
Well, I'd like to make a statement and just thank you. Thank you for being a part of what we're hoping to influence, through our different mediums. We're hitting the highlights of your life. We realize that. We know there's more detail, and the book obviously holds some of those. But thank you for giving us a place to present you and all that you've been able to accomplish as you give full credit to your Lord and Savior, to the audience that we've been able to build. And look forward to having other conversations with you and future connections. And we just appreciate you approaching life the way that you have, and the difference you've been able to make. Quite a legacy. Thank you.
Yes.
Well, thank you.
And I have to say, Chad is the reason that we got connected, and he just spoke so glowingly about you. And to bring things together for the audience, especially, you have surpassed even his bragging about you. So thank you. Thank you for your commitment to yourself. Thank you for your commitment, as Chuck said, to God and to your fellow man. You exemplify a life of service, and thank you for that. So the final questions that are traditional for us to ask, and I say us, I'm kind of selfish. I like to ask these questions. But so the first one is, if there's somebody, a younger person out there watching this show, or doesn't have to be a younger person necessarily, but a person who is inspired by your story and wants to somehow follow your path, or at least a related path, what advice might you give them?
Well, I don't want to be redundant, but I would encourage them to read the book.
Absolutely.
And the reason is, it is really sort of a tome of all of so many of the experiences. It touches on many of them, and it starts out kind of slow, more with science in view, because I don't want to turn scientists off. But then it moves through the book deeper into our relationship with the living God. And I would just want people to really trust God, open their hearts to Him. Our religion is a wonderful thing. It's a community of like-minded people. But really, it's not just the church or whatever religious group you're a part of. It's the God that they all point to. So I would keep your eyes on Christ, on God. Keep your eyes on the Lord, and begin with gratitude and thanking for what you have right now. And even if it's one of those dark times of your life, give thanks for it, because it lets you realize how important God can be in your life, and that everything else really falls away. Everything else is temporary. It's here today and gone tomorrow. We're going to be here today and gone tomorrow. Just enjoy celebrating God and let God open the doors that only God can open.
That's good advice.
Yes.
Very good, very profound. So the final question, and it's my favorite question of the whole show, is if you could go back in time and speak to your younger self and give yourself some profound advice, some words of wisdom. That's all it would be. It would just be words of wisdom in your own ear. And let's say you were about 16, 17 years old, just a little while after the lawn chair discussion with Dad. What advice would you give to yourself?
Boy, you guys are psychologists. That's beautiful. What I would want to tell little John Graham, they called me Buddy back then, I'd want to tell Buddy to not be afraid of stepping out and trusting God for every aspect of your life, including y'all may not continue. You may think I'm 6'7". Actually, I'm 5'6", and I always felt small. And I always thought, I'd look up to the big guys and admire them and think, oh, if I just was a big guy. I want to realize, I would want to tell that young man, don't you worry about your height. You're what God gave you, and it's enough. You are enough. All God needs is for you to trust Him and to love Him. And if you do that, He'll open those doors that only God can open.
Well, that's beautiful.
That is
beautiful.
Thank you.
Well, Dr. Graham, I can't emphasize what an honor it's been.
Right.
Enough. Thank you. Thank you for sharing your journey with us. Thank you for sharing your time with us today. Thank you for sharing your story with our audience. I believe that it will inspire many.
Mm-hmm.
And I look forward to what's to come from you, and I can't wait to read your book. Tell everybody where to find it one more time. Tell them the title, show them the book one more time, and tell them where to locate it.
The book is available on Amazon.com. And if you go right now, I won't raise the price. It's only $2.99 for an ebook. And then there's a paperback, more expensive. But here's the title of the book. And you type it in on Amazon and you type in belief, mystery, miracles, and eternity, and it'll show up.
Where science and spirituality. What was the rest?
Science is where they both agree.
Very
can
good.
Agree.
Very good. Well, thank you so much. And I look forward to seeing what the next part of your journey produces. So we're going to go ahead and call it there. Thank you guys for joining us for another episode of the Pursuit of Purpose podcast. Thank you for allowing us to become a part of the pursuit of your purpose. I'm Rob.
I'm Chuck.
And we've had with us today
Dr. John K. Graham.
Affectionately known as Buddy from his younger years. Thank you so much.